we had a lot of clister days, and I'd say 90% of our races were all some sort of clister conditions. Again, the point of tonight isn't to talk about all the depth of the product line in the kick wax section. We've got a lot of it. But just like I pointed out early on at the beginning of the clinic, that glide wax cleaner is an absolute key to having a good fleet of skis. There's one other product on the kick side that I really want to educate you on, and let any coaches. Did we talk about this spray clister? I was up in Maine early on at one of the Eastern Cups, and it was super cold, and we had a little bit of new snow, so it was just enough to make it an interesting day of testing. But I had 4 pairs of skis ready to test, and I was able to get the binder clister layer on all 4 pairs in about 45 seconds. So most coaches their eyes kind of light up and they're like, well, how'd you do that? Because usually what we used to use is the tube green, so you had to have it as warm as it could possibly get, and then if you were out in a really cold day because you were using green, it set up real quickly, and that's when you really developed thumb strength and really had to work it. This product is just, we've been using it now for a long time on the World Cup, and it's just absolutely killing it. We used it the past 2 years at US Nationals in Rumford. And like I said, you could probably do 10 pairs of skis in a minute and a half.
Can we come outside?
What's that?
Can you use it outside?
Yeah, and what's awesome, like the green tube clister that you need to keep at temperature, it was -12 when I woke up that morning for that Eastern Cup, and this was in the van, and wasn't warm, and it was in the back of the van, and never really heated up. So you can use it, and it's less. It just takes a lot less thought than the regular clister. So what I want to show you is how we use it. It's really simple, but if you're a coach, it will save you so much time, and it does a better job. The other nice thing about this is you'll see on a lot of high school kids that can't afford true clister skis, we've got the classic mark, and then we step it back for the clister mark. The reason we step it back, as you guys know, is that clister binder eats up so much of that camber. What this does is this stuff goes on so thin and so smooth that essentially it gives the kids a much better kicking ski without eating too much of that camber. So a lot of times kids get onto the clister, and even when you step it back, it's still dragging up front. So doesn't need to be warm, so that's your first thing. You don't need to have this thing in a hot water bottle or in an exhaust pipe. It's ready to go. You just need to tape off your kick zone, and it's going to come out in a liquid state. Sprays right on, and then while it's in that liquid state, I just run my finger right down the center groove to clean that out. And then you just simply set it aside in a colder condition. Obviously, it's not going to set up here because we're room temperature. But in about 5 minutes, it's ready to get the next layer of clister. So it's just the best thing ever. And we use this on all the distance events. Doesn't matter what you're doing. And then, and then if you see anything that's dry, this kick zone had been sanded, so you can just add a little bit.
Can you put too much on?
I mean, you don't need to. Like, I just did 2 little doses of that, and you can see
it doesn't have to be totally.
No, and then now it's going to morph into almost a true clister. After 5 minutes in the cold, once you touch it, you pull your finger up and you see the cobwebs come off. So it's in a total liquid. You clean it up, and then your binder's done. So by the time you get to the last athlete ski, your first one's ready for clister.
So if you're going to do kid skis like now inside, you would probably take those and put them outside?
Outside, yeah.
And then
when
the last skid was done with the binder, then you take the first pair that you did.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I have used this and it's great, but I think I'm not applying. When I put it on, I would spread it out with my finger.
Yeah. No. Just because. Watch your foot. Yeah. You just need to just lay it right down and maybe. Yeah, you wouldn't need to touch it. The only thing I do is clean out the center groove.
Okay.
Yeah.
And are you saying, because I did go back to the tube at States because I had a kitchen I could, you know.
Sure.
But and because I thought it was maybe a little more durable, but are you saying this is the same durability?
Yeah. I haven't used the 20 in 2 years.
Really?
Yeah.
I'm gonna return my tube. I just bought.
No, it's just awesome. You know.
What is it called?
It's the
KB20.
base clister, KB20 base clister. It comes in 2 different sizes. Now this is one thing, I said get the small one of this, get the big one of this. It's just too awesome. And you'll use it and you'll be everyone's best friend when they see you have it. So yeah, it's crazy because I did 4 pairs of skis and then I kind of figured the kick out after 2 pairs. And some of the coaches were like, what were you spraying on the kick zone? And I said, well, why don't you come on over? And they couldn't believe it. So I had 2 pairs that hadn't been touched yet, but just had the binder and had been sitting there for a few hours in the cold. And it just goes on so thin. It's amazing. And then the durability, we were on man-made snow, really cold with a little fresh snow. So we were this with the 30 ice clister with a little VR30 overlay for the powder.
Could you just put hard wax right on top of that?
Some people do, yeah. Yeah. On the hard wax, I have really good luck with our VG30 binder. So this is what I do.
You put the VG30 on top of that?
No, this is a clister. This is a clister binder.
Yep.
Yeah. So the question was, some people have hard waxed over this. I don't. Doesn't mean it doesn't work. But this is how I run my clister layers. This is what I do on hard wax days.
You always iron that in?
I always iron that in.
That's done obviously in advance.
Yeah, you can do this in advance, no problem. Again, tape it off, crayon it on, iron in, and you're ready to go. Yeah.
What happened to the green?
We have it. We do have that.
But what are you doing?
The 35 is just for colder. It just goes a little bit colder. I find that the 30 goes on a little thinner, and I like it. The advantage to the 35 is it just gives you a little bit more durability in colder, more abrasive snow. Usually, if I'm kick waxing, it's not as cold. It seems like all the races we did this year were purely clister conditions, and I wasn't even going here. You know, it was all here. With overlays. So it was either this with VG30 or it was this with either the 30 ice clister or the 35 cut with a cover.
This is probably really basic, but when do you go to clister from hard wax? Is it a wetness or a temperature? Or
I tell people it's when things are really, really extreme. So super transformed, extremely wet. You know, today was one of those days, just extremes. Cold with not new snow. It's always going to be a recrystallized piece of ice or snow. It's always going to be rounded over. There's in the books.